Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel T-Spot. In this video, breakdown and review of 1923, Episode 6, titled One Ocean Closer to Destiny. That title obviously refers to Spencer, which is why we'll begin our Episode 6 recap on the Indian Ocean, where Spencer and Alex's tugboat capsize on the way to the Suez Canal. Spencer is able to swim up to the overturned hull and call out Alex's name. She hears it and starts banging the floor, or the ceiling in this case, because the boat is upside down and she's alive because she is in an air pocket. Spencer swims down to retrieve the love of his life, and he is successful. He dives back in to recover some items they might need. And while he's down there, Alex can spot the fine line between boldness and stupidity. So she goes after a life buoy and starts drifting away from the boat. Luckily, Spencer comes to her rescue once again, and he reassures her that this won't be the end of their journey because he made contact with another ship before they went down. That ship doesn't show up in the area until it's nighttime, and Spencer has to fire a few rounds from the rifle he recovered to make sure they are spotted. A couple of sailors fetch our protagonists and bring them to their ship, which is headed to Marseille, France. Captain Shipley says they can book passage to the U.S. once they are in Marseille, but he points out how slow the immigration process is nowadays, and so Alex might slow things down. Spencer is quick on his feet. He says that Captain Shipley can officiate their wedding there and then because they're in international waters and captains have that authority. This way, Alex wouldn't have any trouble getting into the U.S., as she would be Spencer's wife. The captain is a bit hesitant at first because a sham marriage would be illegal, but he quickly realizes that these two are madly in love and they were going to get married sooner or later. He gives them a box of rings to choose from. These belong to dead sailors whose addresses weren't known, and Spencer goes, quote, "The ocean almost took us, and now it gives us rings. I think I'll keep mine," end quote. Spencer picks one, but they're too big for Alex's fingers, so Shipley helps her out. He gives her his wife's ring, saying that she would approve. Our lovely couple gets married, and they immediately get down to business in their tomato-like state after spending a whole day under the sun. Their last scene from this episode is on the bow of the ship, where Spencer admits that he shouldn't have taken Alex with him because the universe kept warning him. At first there were the elephants, then the lions, and finally the shipwreck. It's almost like he was being told to put Alex back where she belonged. I'm just too friggin' selfish to do it. My dream is that the universe is wrong and your mind to keep and caught. Alex argues that the dream has already come true and there is no putting her back now. She insists she'll go wherever he goes, even if it's the death of her. This series has had a lot of pieces of ominous dialogue, and this is one of the scarier ones because following Spencer around could really lead to Alex's demise. That would be believable, and I think Spencer is right. It's like they're not meant to be together, but their incredibly strong emotional bond allows them to override everything else and just be together. I think one of the most dishonest excuses people have when they want to break up with someone or when they don't want to be with someone is the timing isn't right, or maybe it could have worked out under different circumstances. I've used those excuses myself, and 99% of the time they are bullcrap. Wanting to be with someone is quite often a binary choice. You either do or don't want to, and when you do, you are ready to overcome any difficulty and ignore whatever obstacle you come across. That is exactly what Alex and Spencer are doing, which is what makes their bonds so honest, pure, and special. Meanwhile, things are calmer in Montana, where Zane is tasked with finding people willing to join the posse that will go after Banner. While Kara and Sheriff McDowell interview candidates for the recently formed law enforcement wing of the Montana Livestock Association. One of the candidates is wrote toward Kara, and he is smacked out of the room, literally. Another one, named Clyde, gets the job immediately because he has law enforcement experience in Chicago, and he is charming. He aces the interview. That is why Kara was about to say that she and McDowell would discuss Clyde's prospects, but McDowell stepped in and offered the job right away. Jacob had warned Kara to be wary of the charming ones, which is why going forward, we should keep a close eye on Clyde. All in all, they've hired 3 men so far. They need 20 of them. So there clearly aren't a lot of great applicants. And Kara, knowing that this process is going to take too much time that the Duttons don't have, decides to tell McDowell what really happened when they were attacked. They previously hid the fact that Banner was the one who organized this attack and that Jacob was badly injured. They did this in order to conceal their weak state and to keep the banks and the thieves away. But people are probably starting to think that Jacob must be dead because he hasn't been seen in public for such a long time. That's why Kara feels like she needs to get the sheriff involved. This leads to a quarrel between Jacob and Kara. They were already in disagreement about gathering up a posse to go after Banner. Kara wanted Jacob to stand back and let the livestock agents handle this matter. Jacob contends that his goal is not vengeance, but survival. He points to the explosions up north near the Stratford Ranch, where Donald Whitfield's men are stunning their mining operations. And with ranches to the north and south of Yellowstone now in Donald's control, Jacob knows they're next, which is why he feels the need to take matters into his own hands. This is when Sheriff McDowell and his men arrive. McDowell's angry that Jacob didn't report what went on with Banner's ambush, even after Jacob was in Declare. And the sheriff asserts that he won't allow a range war in Montana, so his deputies will take everybody's statements and arrest Banner. The next morning, the sheriff leaves, and Jacob gives Kara the cold shoulder, which she can't believe after all she's done. Jacob goes to the barn, gets on a saddle, and rides off on his own. He comes back at night to find Kara sitting on the porch, and he continues to claim that he's not after vengeance like she claims. He wants to preserve the land and prevent it from becoming just another city. He argues that Banner is simply a means to an end. He is being used in order to weaken the area, which would allow developers like Donald to swoop in and capitalize. Jacob admits that he knows how much Kara has suffered and sacrificed, and he says that it's Spanish turn to suffer. Now, as for Tiana, Hank gives her his son's clothes, and she's going to pretend to be a boy named Joe. When Hank's son comes back with the rest of the flock, Hank will send him to Tiana's father to explain the situation. So that is in the books. And they burn everything from the school except the Bibles, because Hank fears the Christian God's wrath. So they don't burn them, they bury those. Just when we think it's a relatively chill week for this portion of the story, with no abuse, beatings, or deaths, an officer searching Tiana's grandmother's house pushes her. As she tries to stop him, she hits her head and dies. This officer convinces his partner, who is outside, to back his version of the story, which is one of self-defense. Episode 6 was a bit of a bridge episode, with relatively less plot progress than usual. Instead, preparing our characters for the final 2 installments of the season, we learned about Tiana's fugitive plan, Spencer's path back to the U.S., and Jacob's motivations for what he'll do once he gets better and once Spencer arrives in Montana. I like the fact that the sheriff learned about the ambush because that'll shake things up. But I'm guessing that Banner will be fine, at least at first. Donald is probably going to help him in this legal matter, and they might argue that too much time has passed following the alleged ambush, giving the Duttons enough time to concoct such a story in order to eliminate a rival like Banner. From the outside, that sounds like a plausible defense. The relationship storylines in this episode were intriguing to watch too. Jacob and Kara had some tumultuous moments, and they were both partially justified in their actions. You could see where both of them were coming from. Alex and Spencer's insistence on being together is really cute. Jack and Elizabeth's chemistry was on point as well. But one minor note, and I said this previously, we don't need this much screen time dedicated to showing them actually doing the deed. Anyway, tell me what you thought about this episode. Let us know what you think in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video. Thank you for watching. See you soon.